Let's go to Japan. Eoin Sheahan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ger. How are things?
You're in the airport.
I am. I'm in Fukuoka Airport now, just looking out over a couple of the planes here, going to take off in the next 2 hours and head back to Tokyo. I should say that it's my first time experiencing this side of a Japanese airport, and it is like every other element of Japanese society, as in it's ridiculously pleasant. I just checked in a bag there that was 10 kg overweight. Didn't say a thing about it. I casually, left a bottle of water behind me before I went through security just now because I couldn't find a bin. A man came running out and he was like, "Yeah, you forgot your 1 litre bottle of water there. Bring it with you." So it's just a generally pleasant experience like the rest of the country has been. So looking forward to getting back to Tokyo now this evening. It's going to be a big 5 days.
Flights okay, no problems, no issues post-typhoon?
As in, you just show up and they give you a new one. Basically, they're used to that sort of stuff this time of the year. ANA is the airline I'm with, so they've looked after me very, very well over the last couple of days. I think it's fair to say, and pretty much all the journalists have been sorted. As soon as the typhoon is hit, just log on, change your flights, and they could handle it pretty well. So it's really been incredible watching how this place has recovered over the last couple of days, even from afar. Like, I haven't been up there, obviously, but to get that game played yesterday was incredible. To get fans, 70,000 of them into the stadium, was incredible. After a ridiculous amount of rainfall the previous night, to get that turned around within 24 hours was a serious achievement. And I don't think it was hyperbole when we kind of heard the commentators talk about the special moment that it was, given the context of everything yesterday evening. I'm just really gutted I wasn't there. I had accreditation, I had a ticket to go to Yokohama last night, and it was the biggest level of FOMO I've ever felt, because even just through the TV screen you could sense it was amazing.
Yeah, and so in Fukuoka, was there any sense after the game was over last night that Japan had won top of their group, gone through to the quarterfinals? Was there a sense that there was a national sporting occasion happening?
Yeah, there was. The pubs here were pretty busy. There was people cheering on. Like, the place just stopped still with the television on in the corner, perhaps, on a Sunday evening. Like, it's not a particularly busy town, or the part I was in wasn't particularly busy, but everybody who was in a restaurant or a pub had the right to do this. Like, I'm sure you saw the scenes on Shibuya Crossing yesterday with Japanese people dancing at the crossroads, to use that phrase, in their own most famous in the world crossroad in Tokyo last night. This thing has captured the imagination. We can talk about legacy of it for years to come on a different date, but for now, rugby is here and this country is absolutely obsessed with it. We have a huge part to play in that, because I think really since the win in Shizuoka against Ireland, just things have gone up to a whole new level. Every town I've been in on match night has just been buzzing, really. Every pub has been buzzing for Japan.
All right, let's move on, because we want to talk about Johnny Sexton. Here he is talking about Ireland's performance in the pool and the squad's take on the negativity around the team. Have a look.
We've been building, I think, pretty well, apart from that poor sort of 60 minutes against Japan. Everything else has pretty much gone to plan. I suppose a lot of the negativity around us we feel has been a little bit strange, but we're pretty confident and pretty positive in how we've been building. Obviously, we'd like to be playing better at times in some regards, but I think hopefully we can put that out there on Saturday now. No, like we're very self-critical. Like we're critical of ourselves in terms of our performances, and obviously after the Japan game we would have liked to have done things differently, but we kind of knew what good a team Japan were, so we always knew that could happen if we didn't play well, and it did happen. No, it's not a talking point. It's something that we just get a sense of. When you get texts saying keep the head up, we're still behind you. You get a feeling that there's some things out there that aren't great. And Shuckers gives us the lowdown before we come in here what to expect. So we know that things weren't great, but it's funny when you compare things to some people trying to compare it to 07 when they just scraped past Namibia and we beat Georgia or Russia 35-0. How there can be comparisons there, I'm not quite sure. In totally different conditions, but look, we are where we are. We're exactly where we want to be in terms of quarter-final, and now we're going to do everything we can for this week to put ourselves out there, and hopefully that can get us the right results. We know that we could play to our potential and still not get it, so we just got to make sure we do our part and really go for it.
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing, Owen, isn't it? They really could play brilliantly in this game, but they're up against the best team in the world, and so they need something else apart from us playing really well to go our direction.
Yeah, they need a bit of luck. They need a referee to perhaps screw over New Zealand on one or two things, which we're not going to get, quite frankly. So a slice of luck here or there. We need a couple of Jacob Stockdale chips and chases that bounce his way, just like they did last year in November 2018. So we need a few things, but like one of the things that has gone our way is that we were speaking in the build-up about how Samoa is a tricky last game because they will bring the physicality, they will bring brute force, they will target the likes of Sexton and Murray, and no doubt it could be anything like a bloodbath that we experienced in 2015. That has not happened. The Bundy Aki situation aside, we will have fit and ready 30 players out of the 31 to go into this game this weekend. Now, the Aki hearing is tonight. By another quirk of fate, if we really are on form in terms of our luck this week, he could get off the hook, but I'd be very surprised if that happened for this weekend. So I think we're well equipped to cause this shock, but there are things outside of our control that will need to fall Ireland's way for sure.
He seemed pretty confident. Like the stuff about hearing from home about the negativity, it almost as if they were bulletproof. I think, and maybe of all of the team, Sexton is the one who's allowed to be the most confident, given that he didn't play in the Japan game, and you can definitely feel like if he had been on from the 20th minute forward, then perhaps we would have played a very different game. It wouldn't have been the same opportunity for Japan to get back into the match, and we might have been riding towards a South African quarter-final.
For sure, and I think Sexton probably realises the game plan that is required to beat Japan, and it is don't do what Scotland did last night. Don't do what Ireland did for 60 minutes against them. It's still bizarre how Scotland managed to look at that Ireland game and not glean from it anything that might be able to put them in a position to actually beat Japan last night, especially in that middle quarter of the game, or the middle third of the game, really, when Scotland just clearly looked like they hadn't watched Ireland play. But had Sexton been on the pitch, he is our most tactically aware player. He would have been able to implement things like that. When you mention our one player who is bulletproof, who is on a level of confidence, I think it's clear that Sexton is that guy. I mean, the Irish, if you think about who they're putting up for media, like they're making a point when they put Johnny Sexton up on Monday of the biggest week of the year, the biggest week of the careers of a lot of these players. They know that he is the guy who can toe the line. He is the most confident player. He's the best person to put in front of the media and lead the charge from the front when it comes to the back pages tomorrow morning, I should say, and on the radio today. So, yeah, for sure, there's confidence there. Sexton embodies that. This is a team that's going in to win this weekend. There's no question about it. It's a bit of a long shot is all. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see what the dynamics between the respective coaches are this week as well. When does Schmidt do? He always does media on the Tuesday, does he, of the week? And then again after captain's run, or when do you expect to see Schmidt this week?
No, it'll be team announcement on Thursday. So
that's it.
Press tomorrow. Yeah. So like he did a couple of Tuesdays during the warm-up games because things were not going great. So he kind of fronted up and faced the cameras the Tuesday, a couple of days after Twickenham at the start of the warm-ups. And I think he did it a couple of weeks later as well, just to try and address things, just try and put things straight if he feels there's been miscommunication or if he feels perhaps the media coverage has been a bit too harsh. But yeah, so we'll expect to see him on Thursday once the team is announced, and we will hear from the RFU this evening, probably just a statement though, when it comes to Bundy Aki's hearing. So 11:30 a.m. Irish time, he faces a 3-man independent committee in Tokyo. Derek Hegarty, the solicitor, has been flown over to Japan to help in the appeal process. He's a former scrum half of Terenure College and Leinster. He is going to help Bundy Aki when it comes to an appeals process after tonight, and then we'll have press again tomorrow morning. Now, one of the things that's obviously been a big talking point, and it will continue to be a big talking point over the next couple of days, and I've just mentioned it there already, is the difference between now and 4 years ago. Granted, the opposition is way harder than the opposition we had 4 years ago, but we're in a far stronger spot than we were 4 years ago. To go into this game, as I mentioned, with 30 fit players ready to go, and that's not including Bundy Aki, we're in a very, very good spot. And Sexton was asked about this earlier on. He was asked about the difference between this coming week and the week leading into Argentina in 2015.
Yeah, it makes a big difference having everyone fit, even just for the quality of training. I remember that Argentina week, we had to rely on guys like Vinny and Shuckers to be running against us, and it wasn't the best quality opposition we could have asked for, physically and personally. So it was that was probably the reason we lost Argentina. But this week we have everyone fit, so we've 2 good sides of training, and we'll be able to make the most of it.
Johnny, just on your own personal form, obviously the other night, you seem to be really back to close to your best. How do you feel it's going to go?
You never feel too far away from your best. You just feel sometimes things just don't go your way in one regard or another. You know, a niggle or two, or you know, sometimes at 10 you can make mistakes that might look like your fault, and they often aren't. Often you can make mistakes that are totally your fault, but yeah, I never lost confidence in what I can do, and I don't think much 10s do lose confidence. You know, when they go through bad patches, you just know that they're part and parcel, and you come out the other side. And like, I was happy with some parts on Saturday, other parts like to brush up a few things on for New Zealand, and I'll need to play better on Saturday, and we all will, to get the right result.
No mistakes be your fault, would it?
No.
So, Owen, people who are listening to us on OTB Sports Radio, who is sitting beside Johnny Sexton?
That's Vinny Hammond, very funny guy, very witty guy. He's a video analyst with Ireland, so he's a good guy to have up this week, because he mentioned that, you know, their hard work is actually kind of done from a video analysis point of view, because if you're coming into a week against the All Blacks in a World Cup quarter-final and you've started your work on the All Blacks this week, you're probably not going to get the work done come Saturday. So they've been looking at them for the last couple of years. They've studied them. They know exactly what the game plan is. They have the blueprint down. And now this week is all about execution. So I guess his work is largely done, although I'm sure he's been getting through the latest games in the World Cup with the All Blacks. So Vinny Hammond was up. Naturally, when you're sitting beside Johnny Sexton, you don't get a lot of questions asked of you, but he's an interesting character inside the camp as well. Would have played with Sexton, I'm not sure if it's at schools or at underage level, so they'd know each other quite well and have a very good relationship. So this week is going to be interesting on that level in terms of what we're going to see from a tactical perspective, because there is a theory out there that perhaps they've been holding something back tactically in the pool stages. I did put that to Sexton as well in that press conference, and he did kind of mention it, that we have been holding a few things, and like we've seen that they executed a game plan against the All Blacks last year. It'll be interesting to see if our game plan against this opposition has developed 11 months on.
Yeah, it definitely will be. And the other thing that's going to happen this week is that Steve Hansen is going to do press. He's already done press. He's been talking about Joe Schmidt and saying, you know, we know Joe. I'm just going to try and find these comments here. The mind games have begun a little bit.
Yeah, he was saying that Joe likes to prepare quite a lot. That can be a good thing or that can be a bad thing. And then he was talking about kind of selling him down the river sort of thing.
I might be able to set him up.
Yeah, that was the line. So I presume what he means by that is some kind of false hands being shown in pool games in the World Cup this year. But you know, it's interesting. If it's Eddie Jones or if it's Warren Gatland or if it's Steve Hansen, the three of them are absolutely brilliant at lobbing grenades. So it'll be interesting to see what Schmidt has to say to that later on in the week.
Yeah, and that's why I was kind of hoping that he would be out a little bit. But look, these two obviously know each other very well. They shared a pre-match moment certainly a couple of years ago on the pitch where they were chatting away and it was all fine. And they seem to be kind of quite friendly privately, and in public capable of giving each other the type of barbs that with Gatland you expect it isn't actually privately all grand. It's kind of it seems like there's a bit of theatre to how these two interact. Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, Steve Hansen, when it comes to criticising other teams, I'm not sure really have much to stand over this week when his team are sitting on a 13-day turnaround and his opposition are sitting on, a 6-7-day turnaround. So it's clearly weighted massively in New Zealand's favour when it comes to the way this whole tournament has been set up and the way the last few days have fallen. So I'm sure that'll be touched on over the next couple of days, because it's advantage New Zealand when it comes to talent, when it comes to form, but it's also advantage New Zealand in the way this tournament has fallen as well. So everything's in Steve Hansen's favour, let's just put it that way. Yeah, but you're not buying the narrative that they're going to be undercooked. I mean, according to Steve Hansen, their training session on Friday was savage. The GPS figures were somewhat even above what you would expect from a full-blown match. So you're obviously not buying the undercooked narrative that we're trying to sell. No, absolutely not. I'm not sure if we're going to try and sell that narrative. I think what we're going to try and sell is what Ireland can gain from playing every single week. And Tyke Furlong mentioned it yesterday, said he likes to actually play every week. And it's, to be fair, if it was 5-day turnaround, maybe it becomes an issue, but they do have a full week to actually get things right, and tiredness shouldn't be a thing. But you can forget about New Zealand being undercooked. I mean, they get ashamed by anything that's not winning the World Cup comfortably. So beating Ireland in a World Cup quarter-final comfortably is the minimum requirement for them, you would suspect. Oh, and you had your very first ever documentary out yesterday. How did it go? Oh, it went well. It got aired, made it to air, and it went from start to finish on the radio. So that's always a positive when it comes to a radio documentary. It was about the '96 brawl.
and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed
It's
it.
called
I enjoyed
what?
making it. It's called Brawl.
Okay.
And it's just a snappy title, snappy one-word title to describe probably the most crazy 20 to 40 seconds that ever happened in an All-Ireland final in either code, I think. So some funny retellings.
Martin O'Connell's book is being serialised this morning, so you can have a second version where you can incorporate some of Martin O'Connell's comments.
Right. I was wondering, I saw the Martin O'Connell stuff in the newspaper. I didn't realise that he's got a book out. These two things are not linked, and there is no real hook for this, except for the fact that it's just a good story to tell. I think there was a couple of new nuggets in the documentary. Like, I mean, I've tried my best to pour through archives and stuff. I mean, Lee McHale talking about getting prophetic hate mail from Dublin about how something would go badly wrong for him in the replay was a line I hadn't heard before. John Casey says he still has nightmares about the All-Ireland final in '96. And then David Brady's description of what was going through his mind in the middle of the brawl is worth listening alone. It's just hilarious. It's absolutely funny. It's phenomenal stuff from Brady in that section when the brawl actually happened. So I think it's worth a listen. But then again, I'm biased.
You can get it on the Go Loud app or indeed offtheball.com/podcasts. Owen, safe flights up to Tokyo. The Ireland team obviously probably have already moved to Tokyo. They're staying in Tokyo for the next week. The All Blacks staying, are they staying close to each other? Are they all in like preordained team hotels, or how does it work?
No, so it depended on where you finished in the pool as to where you would actually stay. So Ireland wanted, if they finished top of the pool, to stay, I think, closer to the city centre, but they've gone back out to Chiba now. They're going to be staying in the Hilton in Chiba, which is where the Springboks stayed for their first week in Tokyo. So that's where Disneyland is. Basically, you'll have to get on the Mickey Mouse train, literally, to get out to the Ireland team hotel over the next couple of days. So they flew up to Tokyo about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago at this point. So they'll settle in, and then they're back to training tomorrow.
All right. Good stuff on. I'll see you on Wednesday, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. Safe flight yourself, sure.
Thanks, William.
Bring good luck. Bring a pot of shamrocks or whatever brings good luck from Ireland. I don't know why was I just getting stereotypically anti-Irish there for a second?
Sugary Lucky Charms, I think is the phrase you're looking for. American cereal Lucky Charms, giving kids diabetes for 3 decades. Right, good stuff.
We'll see you at the karaoke bar.
Yeah, good luck.